Well, I grew up to be a big, strong Texas Jumbo Forever guitar pick just like you.
It doesn't matter how big you are, son. It matters what you're made of. We were brought right here to America to be handmade by Luther R.S. Paul. He's an expert in exotic woods. Any other questions, Jazzy?
Yeah, why did Aunt Babinga get mad because you gave her crabs on her birthday?
Well, it's that time of year. Winter NAMM 2019 has just wrapped up. As usual, there were lots and lots of really cool, really cool products that were announced, and several of which I, of course, am excited about. The interwebs are all abuzz about all kinds of stuff. And there was your typical announcements of some really, really weird stuff there as well. Yes, I'm referring to the Fender tenor Tele. Among other things. Not that there's anything wrong with the tenor Tele, it just, in 2019 seems like kind of a bizarre instrument for somebody to put out. But anyway, so I thought I would share with you some of the things that I am the most excited about, as well as some other highlights that I know the internet is, as I mentioned, is also a buzz about. And let's get to it, shall we? Number one. Probably the guitar that I saw the most of on the internet was the new Acoustasonic guitar from Fender. Is that what they're called? The Acoustasonic Telecaster. And forgive me, I have a note. I have my phone in front of me here for this video because Reverb actually just recently posted an article recapping the NAMM show, and I am actually referring to this for a lot of this video. But the new Acoustasonic Telecaster, that was definitely the guitar that I saw more pictures of and more links to and more people sharing than anything. Definitely an interesting concept because, the last series of the Acoustasonic guitars were they had a strap model and a Telecaster model, and they had this, Lyricord-esque. Wasn't actually Lyricord, but it was essentially it was a plastic back and sides. It was a really thin body. The action on those guitars were terrible. They of course were made very, very inexpensively overseas. They weren't very good, and most importantly, they didn't sound good. They weren't very good guitars. However, Samurai Guitarist has even actually did a video last year agreeing with my sentiments on that, and he was the first one that I actually got to see a video of with a guitar with one of the new Acoustasonics in his hand. And they're USA made, according to him. They appears very well made. Actually has some great sounds to it. And it's an interesting concept. Definitely not my thing. Definitely not going to be my thing at all. But for the right player, with the $2,000 in his pocket that this thing's going to cost, because they are American-made guitars, and they are all wood, by the way. No more plastic back stuff. I think they'll probably do pretty well. Number two, the MXR Dookie Drive. I can't believe that MXR actually agreed to the name of this thing. I know that it's named after the famous 1994 album from Green Day that was probably their most successful and most popular album. I get that, but I'm having a tough time, wanting to buy a pedal called the Dookie Drive, and I love MXR pedals. I'm sure it sounds great, and and all that kind of stuff. But and it's even got the album cover, a graphic of the album cover right there on the front of it. But it's still they're calling it the Dookie Drive. Why not call it the Billy Joe Drive or something like that? Number three, John Suhr and friends, along with YouTube personality and YouTube great, in my opinion, Pete Thorn, have put out a new version of the Pete Thorn amplifier called the PT15 I.R. And what is unique about this amplifier, it's a 15-watt amp that actually has built-in impulse responses on it, which is going to save a lot of hassle for a lot of players, both in the studio and especially on stage. This is probably not something I'm going to be able to get my hands on because my understanding is it's going to be a $3,000 amplifier, as most of John Suhr's amplifiers are. They're very, very high-end, very awesome sounding amps, you know, and they're definitely worth the money. You know, they are really, really, you know, they do seem to be really, really cool. I'm excited about this one because I myself, for my own YouTube channel, am trying to make some upgrades in the right places to my recording equipment, because I would really like to be able to start using IRs as well. The main reason being is, you know, recordings, when I upload them, when anybody uploads a recording to YouTube, YouTube's compression takes that recording and goes so if you have seen my my video on how Guitar Center buys used gear from about a year and a half or so ago, that video still gets quite a few views, still gets a lot of views, and I still get people complaining all the time about how loud the background music is in that video. If you saw the raw file before it was uploaded, I promise you wouldn't be complaining, but you know, when it got uploaded, again, because of YouTube's compression, it made it that much louder, and it made it a lot of people couldn't sit through it because of it, and unfortunately I didn't catch it until after it already had a couple thousand views, and you know, so I've just learned to live with it at this point. Anyway, but you know, with the technology of impulse response, if I were able to use that as part of my recording technology, that would be far less of a problem. So I am something I'm really, really wanting to get into. So, but we're not quite there yet. Number 4, I think. Speaking of amplifiers, Revv amplifiers have released a new amplifier with the 2 Notes Torpedo built into it. The 2 Notes Torpedo, again, is another popular piece of recording gear in that it is a load box and an IR, an impulse response simulator, all in the same package. In other words, you know, you don't need a speaker cabinet for it. You can plug your speaker cable directly into that thing with your tube amp. You can plug the speaker cable from your tube amp into the Torpedo, as it will handle the load and it won't blow up your amp, and then run that straight into your DAW and sound just like you're playing through a 212 cab with vintage 30s in it, or whatever you need to sound like. Very handy, and it's really, really handy to actually have one built into the amplifier itself, eliminating another piece of equipment for a lot of people. One downside that I do see to this amp is you got to crank it up all the way just to get minimal breakup. It's really meant to be a clean platform. I don't think there's even a distortion channel or anything like that on it, and if there is, it's, you know, it doesn't do a whole lot. So tone-wise, I don't know that it's going to be the most versatile thing in the world, but you know, a preamp or a pedal going into the front of it or into the effects loop, I'm sure it would fix all those problems very, very easily. Like I said, an amplifier that has a 2 Notes Torpedo built into it from the get-go is a very, very handy tool to have. I can't believe nobody's thought of it sooner. Number 5, the IK Multimedia. Oh, what are they calling this thing? The AXIO audio interface. IK Multimedia is coming out with a guitar, essentially a guitar-driven interface, and not a guitar-driven, but you know, an interface designed specifically for guitar and guitar players and guitar recording. That is, you know, it looks like it is. You know, I don't know all the details on it yet, but a buddy of mine actually sent me a link to it, and they had a short video that they had posted, and it seems to do the job really, really well. The Scarlett's, you know, the Focusrites and the, you know, all the stuff. I don't know what the price range of this thing is going to be. I'm assuming $300-400. All the, you know, the more affordable audio interfaces, you know, in that price range right now, I think are liable. You know, again, I'm talking about the Focusrites and the Tascams and stuff like that. They've got some new competition because this thing looks pretty cool. I'm in the market for an interface myself right now, and I've been thinking Scarlett for a long time, but I may end up going this route. Number 5, I think. Maybe number 5, number 6. I don't remember where I'm at. This seemed to be a year for amplifiers, at least for things that caught my attention, but I don't think any of them have my attention any more than the new Marshall Studio Classic Series, I think they're called. Marshall have finally come out with 20-watt versions of the JCM 800, and I believe the other one, I think, is the Plexi. Finally, we don't... You know, they're not, you know, they have a version that's not the ear-splitting volumes of the 50 and 100-watt models of those amps, as much as I love them. But, you know, let's face it, a JCM 800, especially, you know, to be able to get it to do, well, either of those Marshalls, really, to get them to do what they need to, you know, to sound like the way that most people want them to sound like, you got to crank them and you got to push them hard, and those things are ungodly loud, you know, and particularly for what I do nowadays, you know, they're just not real conducive to, you know, home recording, which essentially is, like I said, that's most of what I do. You know, I plug in the 900 every now and again because you know, the 900 can be tamed volume-wise, but you know, not so much the case with the JCM 800, and that's one I would really, really like to have. Now that there's a 20-watt version, you know, the investment actually makes a lot more sense. Line 6 apparently announced a new line of guitars this year that, I'll be honest, you know, I suppose they look okay, but not really my thing. But what they did announce that I am excited about is the new G10S wireless system. I purchased a G10 wireless system here last year for use specifically in some of my videos, and I've been very happy with it. There is one aspect about that thing that has been kind of a pain, in that it is USB powered, and that's it. There's no 9-volt input, and the charge, you know, the receiver on it is about the size of a pedal, you know, stomp box, maybe a little bit larger, you know, but it's designed to go on a pedal board. However, Line 6 really dropped the ball on that particular design, as there's no 9-volt input, and you can't run it off the same power supply that you're running the rest of your pedals on. So now this one also, while this one still has a USB power input, it also finally has a 9-volt input as well. And not only that, it also has a couple of other, I think it has a cable emulator on it, so you know, you can actually implement the tone of a 25 or 30 foot cable if you choose to do so, you know, or no cable at all. And I think it's actually even got a little bit more range on it as well. I think it'll go to, I think it's at 130 feet, I believe, or 130 yards, one of the two. You know, it's got a fair amount of distance. It can cover a fair amount of distance on a straight line of sight. So I only wish it didn't come out just a few months after I bought mine. This one's gonna be a little bit more expensive. I think this one sells for $249 as opposed to $179, then which has now been dropped down to $159, I believe, is what the G10 sells for. So the G10S is slightly more expensive, but you also get a lot more features, and you know, it's going to compete a little bit more with like the Boss wireless systems. One advantage that the Line 6 wireless systems do have is the same signal will work. Seems to, at least you know, from my experience, seems to work just as well with both active and passive pickups. Whereas Boss actually came out with a version separate for, you know, specifically for active pickups, because most wireless systems, you know, tend to be a little bit picky going one direction or the other. The Line 6 wireless systems, though, actually seem to work pretty well with both. Number 6, number 7, number 8, whatever number I'm on, I can't recall. Nothing has my attention from the Winter NAMM Show this year more than the Boss Wazacraft Tube Expander. Tube Expander Load Box, I think is what it's called. You know, essentially this is Boss's version of the aux amp load box, and I think that, you know, Universal Audio as well as Two Notes and some of those other companies, you know, they have some competition from Boss, because this thing looks like it does everything that every single one of those other, you know, one of those other load boxes will do, plus a whole lot more. I've already seen a demo of these from Tom Quayle, and it's a pretty incredible piece of equipment. I first heard about this actually a few months ago, and you know, started tagging Boss on Facebook, you know, hoping to get their attention. I don't think I did, but you know, because I would really like the chance to demo one of these. You know, again, this is something that I would find very useful in my own everyday practice. So load boxes and you know, are becoming more and more popular as home recording is becoming more and more popular. You know, hence the market for an item like this growing quite a bit. You know, nobody quite seems to know. I have not heard a firm report about what this thing is going to cost yet. Nobody seems to quite know what the price is going to be on it. But you know, it says Wazacraft on it, so I got to assume it's probably going to be at least fairly expensive. But, you know, regardless, it does an awful lot, and is a great recording tool. That's going to make life a lot easier for a lot of you know, for a lot of people that are recording their own music from home. keep your eye open for that. And if you see one and you know what the price is going to be, shoot me a link because I need one. Unfortunately, I didn't really see much in the way of guitars that that really got me excited. Taylor has a new round shoulder dreadnought, essentially kind of their take on the J45. That look kind of cool, but with Taylor's, I love Taylor guitars, but their grand auditoriums, in my opinion, are you just can't beat those. So yeah, it's just a few things that I saw that really caught my attention that I thought were really cool products and things that I myself would find useful. I'd be curious to hear what everybody else out there saw that has their attention this year. Drop me a comment down below and let me know what you're excited about from the NAMM show this year. Links to any links I can find anyway, I will provide down in the description. Last but not least, go hit the subscribe button here down below if you haven't already, and as well as the alert icon right next to it. That way you make sure you don't miss out on future content here on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.